Hey everybody, are you ready? We are going to do some cooking. Hopefully you got your bubbles ready. We've got the Prosecco. There's 3 of us here. Actually it's 4 of us, me and 3. Alright, so we're going to do some cooking. We've got some bubbles ready to go. And hopefully you guys all got to watch the video on what to do to get ready. So you've made your bavois, that's the coconut that's heated up with the egg yolks. The gelatine and the whipped cream is gone in there and you've got that set in the fridge. If you haven't made that, there'll always be somebody that hasn't, so let us know. Hopefully you've got the sorbet, which was in the bag, in the freezer, and you've got the vegetables ready to go. But the first thing we need to do is pour some bubbles. Let's go, Simon. Simon's behind the camera. I've got Megan here, so if you're going to ask any questions, any question is okay, doesn't matter how crazy it is, you ask away. And I've got Bex, who's my assistant. Who's your assistant? Who's doing the dishes in your house? Court, that'd be you, wouldn't it? Aren't you on dishes, mate? Somebody's got to be on dishes. All right, so we'll pour some bubbles, but what we've got here is the vegetables. Let's just have a look at that while I pour the veggies. So they should be cut up like that, and the oven should be on 200 degrees C. So the first thing you need to do is get your oven on 200 degrees C. That's the first thing. So somebody race over and get the oven on. There's a glass for you, Simon. Over here we've got our date, which should be with the bacon. We've got our little chopsticks there. We've got our goat's cheese. We've got our walnut. And the bacon's pretty special bacon, team. We've really gone for geographical authenticities tonight. So all the products that you've had in your hamper have a story. So that bacon has no added sugar. That's the devil, right? And there's no added water. You know when you buy your bacon and you start cooking and all that white stuff comes out? That's because they're trying to rip you off. So it comes from the wire wrapper. It's called Grassy Knolls bacon. So that's one of the things that's our first bite actually, just to get us kicked off. So we'll make that pretty soon. Over here we've got our eye fillet out. This must be out of the fridge, so it's at room temperature. We want to get that to room temperature. Cooking a cold steak is wrong. It'll taste, you can't cook a steak from cold. We're going to nail cooking the perfect eye fillet tonight. And you can use the same technique similar on a barbecue. So I'll talk about that when we cook it. We've got a smeg kettle. Now you don't have to have a pink one. I certainly wouldn't want a pink one. We just happen to have a pink one tonight. We're going to give away a kettle to one of you with the hampers on Monday. So on Gault's Deli Facebook page, take photos, take videos, do whatever you like, and post your experience with a photo or a video, and then we will choose the best one and we will send you the smeg kettle. And I'll also send you one of my cookbooks. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's a perfect time because it's all about summer, and there's loads of cool recipes in here, all different types, but really geared up for summer to do a bit of cooking. Even the best pork crackling, this recipe is just wicked. Pizzas for summer, avocado, pickled mussels. I love pickled mussels, right? So there's my recipe for pickling mussels, a pork dish, Moroccan, there's all scallops if you want to be all fancy. Good pasta dish. Anyway, there's loads of yummy recipes, so we'll give that away on Monday. So all you got to do is post a video or a photo on Gault's Deli Facebook page, and this is similar to the date we're doing tonight, but this one's actually wrapped in a vine leaf. We're not doing that tonight, but the rest of it is exactly the same. Kiwi barbecue section, that's a winner. Welcome everybody, happy days. Let's start doing some cooking, or let's at least have a drink if nothing else. So the first thing we should have done is chopped all those veggies up. Cheers. Happy days, happy days. Cheers, everybody. Can somebody make a comment so we just know that you're hearing us? Like, you're the ugliest guy in the world, or just something like that that you think is appropriate. You've got some extra virgin olive oil that came in a little pack, so you need to get that out ready, and I poured it into a bottle, but just into a cup or a glass so it's easy. Now, with your veggies that you've already prepared, we just need to get a drizzle in there. So I probably used way too much of a drizzle, so I've used about half, but that's okay because it's going to wind up in our carbonara. So carbonara is one of these dishes that you can use whatever vegetables you like. Now, you got sent what I like, which is celery, eggplant, fennel, and I love fennel because of that aniseedy taste that comes in there, and a pepper. You could use a yellow one or a green one or a red one, whatever colour you like. And then you need to get your hands ready. But before we put our hands in here and mix it up, and you've got to do it with your hands, it'll taste way better with your hands, grab a little bit of salt, grab your pepper grinder, and don't be shy. I'm using Murray River salt because I love it. And we'll do a good grind of black pepper in here. Don't be shy. Who's asking a question?
I am. So there's no one showing viewing? But it's still showing, eh? Live?
No one's actually commented yet.
Okay, do you want to just check with Fern, please?
But it's still on there.
We're just double checking that you guys are seeing this, so hopefully you are. We've got, it's not saying anybody is watching, and that would be really ordinary if I cooked for myself tonight.
Because the last comments were from...
Okay, apparently you can hear me. Okay, that's good. So now we get our hands in here, and we go in and we just toss these guys around like this. Give them a good toss around so that oil coats all the veggies. There we go. Good toss around. So you could use carrots in here. This is a great dish served cold, warm or hot. It's wonderful with fish. It's great with pork cooked on the barbecue, steak on the barbecue, and of course we're serving it with a fancy steak tonight, eye fillet. And we want with eye fillet, to be honest, it's got next to no flavour at all, eye fillet, but it's super tender. Certainly in a restaurant it's the most popular steak. If I was going to choose a steak, I'd be having a Scotch fillet or a rump, because it's got heaps of flavour. Not quite as tender, but the eye fillet is super tender. So we need to serve something with heaps of punch, right? Lots of flavour. And that's why we're doing the carbonara tonight. And those are the vegetables I've chosen because I want a little bit of crunch, because by the time the eggplant is cooked, the fennel will still have a little bit of crunch to it, and so will the celery. But the peppers and everything else will have softened up. So just spread them out evenly on your oven tray. And then we'll come across and we'll pop that into your oven. Now, if your oven hasn't reached 200 degrees C yet, that's no problem at all. But once it hits 200 degrees C, if you've got one of those fancy ovens, I've got a Smeg and it goes beep, 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 beep. It's annoying as all hell to tell me that it's at 200 degrees. But once it hits that, 30 minutes in the oven. We're probably going to be cooking together tonight for a couple of hours. When we serve the entree, which is the carbonara, we'll break for 10 minutes so you guys can enjoy in peace without me rabbiting on. And then we will cook the eye fillet. And when the eye fillet comes out of the oven and it's resting, and I'll talk about that when we get to that stage, why we're going to rest it, I will prepare the dessert so you can see the dessert done. And then we'll leave you to it to eat your eye fillet, and you will know how to serve your dessert. All right, in it goes. There we go. I'm going to give my hands a little bit of a wash, and they are in the oven. The next thing I'm going to do is the foam. just the start of the foam. Because on our pina colada dessert, so I'm sure you've all had a pina colada cocktail at some stage. So what we've come up with, or I've come up with, is a dessert that has all the flavours of a pina colada. So it will be like eating a pina colada, but you're eating it instead of drinking it. So let's have a look at what we need to get. So you need to measure out, if it's a 4-pack, 140 mils of cold water. So assistant, please run off, get a measuring jug and measure 140 mils of water. If it's not that, then 70 to 80 mils for a 2-pack. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit more, but less is probably not ideal. So we put that into a jug. And now I'm going to take the scissors out. Now, you have lysite and sucrose. Now, these are both emulsifiers. This is what it comes in a big pack like this, and all the team at Gault have done an amazing job just weighing everything out for you, because this has to be exactly the right weight. So we're just going to pop that into the cold water, and you'll see it'll sort of float on there, and if there's a little bit left in the container, try and just sort of get your finger in, and oh, that's not really working, is it? But get as much out as possible. In fact, I'll grab a teaspoon for that. Okay, so just to, because I want to get it all in. I know there's only a little bit left there, and you think, well, what's the big deal? But just a little bit. And it will want to stick to the spoon. It's kind of sticky stuff. And now we're going to put the sucrose in. There we go. So these are all natural ingredients. And this is going to help us make our coconut foam. Now, I've got one of these fancy stick blenders. So you've got your water, 140 mils if it's a 4-pack, 70 to 80 mils if it's a 2-pack. And then if you don't have a stick blender like this, if you don't have a stick blender like, you know, whatever stick blender you've got, do it in a blender. And if you don't have a blender, then use a whisk. It'll take longer with a whisk. And now what you're going to do, and it's important that we do this because we want it, all of that lysite and sucrose to really dissolve in there. We're just going to mix it up. And you see that the lysite wants to stay a little bit clumpy. And see already there's some foam coming on top. And then shortly we're going to flavour that later on with the actual coconut. So you want to give it a really good blend. So as I said, you can do it in a blender or use the stick blender like I'm using. And you kind of need to do it a bit more than you think until all those bits of lysite in there have dissolved in there. And if I look in there, you'll see that there's probably pieces still in there a little bit. When you want to find one, you can't, but you just have to believe me that it's in there. The other one. There we go, blending that up. So the lysite comes out of soya beans, and the sucrose is basically a molecule out of sugar. And if you like margaritas, and you put a little bit of sucrose in your margarita when you make it, and instead of blending it, shake it with your ice with the sucrose in it, and then you'll have this really foamy margarita, and it will stay foamy. And that's the cool thing about this. This foam that kind of looks like a dishwashing detergent at the moment will stay foamy. But later on we'll flavour this with the coconut. there we go. So now we're just going to leave this and we'll just set it aside and we will come back to that later on. So we'll just put that somewhere away, and Bex, we can get rid of those guys. So I'm just going to put this over here. If we want to have our assistant doing something for us at the moment, we could think about plates. So I am using this plate for our date, just a serving plate because it's a finger food type deal. And our spaghetti dish, the carbonara, is just going on a small side plate. Check out how cool these plates are. They've just come out in Briscoe's, good old Briscoe's. Look out for those sales and you'll buy some nice plates. The main course eye fillet is going on a main course plate, and then a dessert I'm going to put on that plate. So those are the only plates. Okay, you've seen the foam, right? So that was for a 4-pack, 140 mils of water. The Leesite went in, and the sucro went in. We got the stick blender in there, and we blended it up. Now, you've also got a little thing of this, which is vanilla essence. I'm going to put that in there now as well. So the vanilla essence is going in. Okay. So in goes the vanilla essence. There we go. Now we're just going to leave that watery, vanilla-y foam over there and just forget about it. We have got the vegetables in our oven that's been tossed in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil with salt and pepper, and they are going to cook for half an hour at 200 degrees. We've got an onion here, 1 onion, so we're going to cook that separately from the vegetables. So we're just going to literally get rid of that, get rid of all the skin, and peel it there. There we go. Now we can cut this into slices or chunks. Doesn't really matter, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to do one way. See, I'm using my hand like a claw, and I'm holding the knife not like this, but like this. And then come along here, and I'm going sideways, and I'm using my fingers here, and I'm going to be careful, support it with this finger on top, come through like that. And here, now I'm just going to roll the knife like this. Or you could just chop it like that, straight down. There we go.
Back in business.
Back in business. Yeah, sorry about that, team. There was something set up on my phone for the event, so I just went straight to that, and it was obviously not right. Anyway, so now, this one I'm just going to slice like that. So you take your pick, whichever way you would like. And we want to use all the onion, as much as possible, and that bit can go in the rubbish. Now I'm going to put that into a pot, and I'm going to put the rest of the olive oil, but I am going to save about a tablespoon. Just a tablespoon I'm saving, which we are going to use for the steak later on. So that is now going to go over to the heat, and we're just going to slowly cook that. Now I'm not getting it up too high. I'm going to just get it slowly sizzling away because I don't really want to add any colour to it. And I'll grab a wooden spoon out here like that. Break up those sliced onions that I put in there. And then Bex, my assistant, and you are all going to want a Bex by the end of the night, I guarantee you, is just going to keep an eye on that and ensure that we just get those onions all soft. And then the assistant, whilst they're watching the onion, they can get these ingredients here, which we'll show them. So we've got the Italian herbs, we've got the passata sauce, we've got a little container like that, which is actually this pomegranate balsamic, That is like one of the key ingredients because you need a bit of acidity in this vegetable dish. And then we've got some pinole nuts. So these are New Zealand pinole nuts. Most of the pine nuts that you find in the supermarket are from China, and they're generally stale and don't taste great. These are pinole nuts from the South Island of New Zealand, and we sell them at the deli. They're super good. Now you've got a little bag here, and you're probably thinking it looks like white wine. This is actually dry sherry. So just with a little pair of scissors, I'm going to open that up and just pour it into a jug ready to go. If I can get it in, it would be good. There we go. So that is dry sherry. So we've got the Italian herbs, which come like this. This is great on a steak on the barbecue, on chicken. If you use it on chicken, get it under the skin. If you've used this before and you like it, you'll love it. But you better get in quick because we're going to discontinue it as soon as we run out of the packaging. So this is great in casseroles and soups, and in this tomato carbonara sauce, it will be just delicious. So that's what I'm using there, and the onions are starting to sizzle away. I'll give those a little bit of a stir. So the onions are going to be soft in probably about 5 to 7 minutes, but we're going to turn that heat down. Have a smell of the sherry. Have a smell of it. It just smells wicked. And with the sherry that goes in there and that pomegranate vinaigrette, that is what is going to make the sauce that is encapsulating the vegetables wicked. Now you've got some capers. Again, these are really awesome capers. They're not in a brine. This is how you should buy capers. These are from Italy, and they're in salt. And you can see there's a lot of salt in there, right? So they're too salty at the moment. The salt is how they preserve them instead of putting them into dry sherry. So in this container, just come over and with some warm or hot water, fill the container up with water. And we're going to leave those capers, which come like that, in the water so that we can get rid of some of that salt. Now, you've got some olives. Check out these beautiful green olives, okay? You need a small sharp knife, and we don't want anybody to cut themselves here. And we're just going to come around. So our assistant is watching the onions and getting the Italian herbs ready, getting the dry sherry ready, getting the pine nuts over there. And what else did I have?
When will the veggies be ready?
The veggies take half an hour in the oven. So I'm just getting rid of the pip. So just roughly getting these off so that nobody breaks a tooth and suddenly wants to send me a claim for the dentist. I've had that in restaurants, I tell you. It was unbelievable. Actually, it's a funny story. Somebody actually had a chocolate fig, and they must have had bad teeth anyway. The next day they rang and they had chipped their tooth, and then a week later they rang and they had a $2,000 dentist bill and they wanted me to pay it for a chocolate fig. Go figure, right? Customers, they're always right though. The customer's always right. But on this particular occasion, the cook wasn't paying out. Here we go. So I might hand this over to Bex and just let her carry on with this. Bex doesn't want to be on camera. She was very adamant, I don't want to be on camera. So she knows I'm probably going to make it go on camera. Here we go. Okay, Bex, or your gig. And we're keeping an eye on the onions here. They're really wilted down. So have a look over here. So again, the assistant should be getting the passata ready, the dry sherry ready, the pine nuts and the pomegranate vinegar ready. So you've got those 5 ingredients ready next to the onions. And you can see they're starting to soften, but not enough really yet. But the heat is not super high. I don't want brown onions. That would be a preference, that they don't go brown. And it doesn't matter which way you cut them, whether into slices or small pieces, it really has no effect on it whatsoever. Hence why I've got half and half. Right, let's talk about the carbonara for just a minute while Bex is doing that. So the carbonara has been famous in just about every Italian restaurant in New Zealand has carbonara, and it will come in a creamy bacon sauce. But the problem is it's a load of shit, because you don't have cream and you don't have bacon in a traditional carbonara. So we are going to Roma, where the dish originates from, and we are going to use guanciale. So not bacon, guanciale. And guanciale is the pork cheek. And the pork cheek has been cured in garlic and salt and pepper and rosemary. So it's kind of like a salami. And when you look at it, if I can find it, where is it? There it is. And I'm going to open it up. So there I've got all my olives that Bex has done for me, and I've got the brine that they came in. I'm just going to throw that away, and I'm now going to put these olives back in there and put them over next to all the ingredients for the caponata sauce, which is the sauce that is going on the vegetables. So let's open our bag of guanciale. I love the name, guanciale. Now, you know, you could use bacon or you could use pancetta, but it's not the same deal. Now look at that. You're probably going, look at all the goddamn fat in there. It's all fat. That, my friends, is the flavour. That is what is going to make this dish so special. Now, at work, we've sliced this into these thin slices for you. So now we're just going to come along with it all bunched up like that with a sharp knife, sharpish, and just cut it into rough pieces. But the more pieces you kind of have, the better. And you will be amazed at how we're going to have a creamy sauce for the carbonara, but there is no cream going in there. We are using Parmigiano Reggiano, which is the king of Italian cheeses. Now, let's just cut this maybe another way, just a little bit. So we've got some slightly smaller pieces like that. There we go. That'll be just perfect. So that is ready to go. Can I just have a little bowl to put that in, Bex? So let's talk about the dish. Carbonara comes from Rome. And when they make bread in Rome, they don't put salt in it. So they put, if they have prosciutto and it comes from Rome instead of Parma, they put a lot more salt in it because there's no salt in the bread. When they make their pecorino romano, they put a lot of salt in it. It's really, really salty. And traditionally, you would use pecorino. But then it became such a popular dish and people all around Italy started making it. And Parmigiano Reggiano, which is the king of Italian cheeses, they use 500 litres of milk to make one wheel of cheese. The only ingredient in Parmigiano Reggiano is rennet and milk. And then they mix it up in this big cauldron over the heat, and then they pour it into a mould, and then they let it dry in the mould, and then they've got this big wheel of cheese. It's massive. They're about 18 kilos. How are those onions, Bex? Are they all good? Yeah, they're pretty much ready. And then they take it out of the mould, and they take it along to this massive swimming pool that's super salty. And then they put it in the swimming pool for a couple of weeks, and it takes on the salt from the swimming pool. Then it comes out of this massive swimming pool of salty water, gets left to dry for a few days, and then it goes into a bank, and it ages in there for between 18 and 24 months on average. And then a man who's qualified to test the cheese comes around and he knocks on it and he listens to the cheese. And then he decides, does it make the grade? And if it doesn't, they put X's on the rind and it gets sold really cheaply. And some really crappy people used to import that into New Zealand, the crap one, and sell it as Parmigiano Reggiano. Today, you have the real deal, all the way from Parma in Italy to go in your carbonara. Right, let's have a poke our nose into the oven, and we'll just give those veggies a little bit of a toss around. And you can see the baking tray is pretty dry because those veggies are absorbing all of that, because especially the eggplant is like a sponge and it absorbs that extra virgin olive oil. So we've sent you extra virgin olive oil that is New Zealand extra virgin olive oil, and it's actually loop line, and it comes from just outside of Wellington, and it won a gold medal in New York for the best olive oil in the world. So you've got a tablespoon left, have a tiny taste. Have a tiny taste of it, because it is wicked extra virgin olive oil. Right, so these onions look pretty good over here. Let's have a little look. And I think we can start adding the rest of the ingredients. They're nice and soft and just starting to get a little bit of colour down the bottom there, so time to stop. Now watch this. In goes the passata sauce. Now, whatever container you've got it in probably has some left in it. So let's get our dry sherry and pour half of it in. Half of it in. Because I want to put the last half in of the dry sherry at the last minute, so that the flavour really comes out. It's not cooked too long in the sauce. So I've kept half of it, and it's now in here. Look at this. And this will be a good way to rinse the rest of that passata. But I am now going to add some water to this. We're just going to come over here. This is Bex, everybody. She's going to run away. Oh, she must have paid Simone a lot of money, because Simone didn't point the camera on it. Bex started working with me in 1994, and she now runs Gault's Deli. She used to be the sous chef at Euro Restaurant when I owned it. She is a rock star, amazing cook, and now she runs Gault's Deli. So you can see I've put about that much water, so it's about half the amount of passata, and it's mixed with half the dry sherry. And look, see, there's quite a lot of oil down there. That's that beautiful extra virgin olive oil. Now, we need more extra virgin olive oil in our diets. The average Kiwi consumes 250 mils of extra virgin olive oil a year. In the Mediterranean, where they live longer, half the amount of heart disease, 30% less cancer, 1/9 the amount of diabetes. They consume 25 litres a year. Holy shit, that's a lot of oil, right? But awesome. Now, let's get the Italian herbs in here. So they're going in. Let's get the olives in there that we've chopped up, and that pomegranate vinegar. You all need some of this. Now, before you put it in, I want you to get your little finger. If you're the chief cook, bottle washer, finger in, nobody will know, and taste it. And tell me that you don't want a bottle of that for all your salads over summer. It is wicked. All right, so that is going in. There, it's in there, as fast as that. Now, you can see I've kept the pine nuts, and we've toasted them for you. Megan at work has put those into a tray, into the oven, and just kept tossing them around until they become lovely and brown. We've got a question?
No, all good. Just
All
say
good?
Rachel Norgate's assistant is hiding at the other end of the house, sipping on the bubbly.
Well, get the assistant to get their ass back in the kitchen. Do a Gordon Ramsay on them. Go and throw something at them or do something. Now, we're just going to leave this to tick away. I've got it on a low heat, because we're not going to need it for ages, and we're waiting for all those veggies to cook. But we're going to let all those flavours of the herbs and the olives and the capers, right? So the capers now have been soaking in this warm water, all right? So I'm just going to drain them off and see how there's more water there? So I'm going to take the capers out. Sorry, there's more salt left in the bottom, because if you put all that salt in the sauce, you're going to have a very, very salty sauce. So can you see that in there? There's quite a bit in there. So we'll rinse that out and we'll get rid of that and we'll give them another soak. But let's not forget to put them in, right? Because they are going to give the sauce an amazing additional flavour. So we've got half of the dry sherry left, we've got the capers left, we've got the pinoli nuts, the New Zealand pinoli nuts, ready to go. Righto, we can forget about that. Assistant needs to keep an eye on it. We don't want that to catch on the bottom or burn. So let's now prepare the date. How's everybody going time-wise? I'm not going too fast.
I think they're all caught up.
Give you that. Everybody's caught up.
It was just recap maybe on the phone, but I think they're...
Recap on the phone was the water, if it's for a 4-pack 140 mils, if it's a 2-pack 80 mils of cold water. You put the lisite and the sucro in, and they're in 2 little containers. Unfortunately, I don't have any more to show you. Did you package some more up? The lisite and the sucro and the little ones, so I could show them what it looks like. And that goes in, then we get a stick blender and we blend it up, and then we put the vanilla essence in there. So that was in a little container if you missed that, but hopefully you all saw that before. Now, champagne, Prosecco is good. I love Prosecco.
1 minute on the veg.
1 minute to go on the vegetables. Right, so I've got that little knife there, I'll just have that. So let's get the dates out. Let's open our grassy Knowles bacon. If ever you want to get this from Gault's Deli, it is the same price as buying bacon from the supermarket, but it's not loaded with water. There's no added sugar. There's a touch of honey in there. I mean, it is rock star bacon. It is, yeah. You use it, Simone? Yep. Now we've got the goat's cheese. Can I have a teaspoon, Bex? Assistant running for teaspoon. Chopsticks are on the ready. Baby chopsticks. Now, what we want to do is just get these beautiful dates, put a little incision in there, open it up, take the pip out, and we'll discard that. There we go. Open it up.
Okay, so someone's asking when does the stuff go in the carbonara? So that's...
No, you just need the guanciale cut and ready to go. It's way too early to, we're not cooking it. This is just, that is for the carbonara, that's for the spaghetti dish. So we need the guanciale, the stuff that looks like fatty bacon, in a bowl. This is the grassy Knowles bacon, which is completely different. Can you get all the spaghetti stuff that's over there ready for me? So we've got these guys all open up. Now, there's a pip in there, right? So we want to pretend that there's still a pip in there. So we're going to get the walnut and we're going to cut it in half and we're going to push it in there. So it's half a walnut in each one. Maybe just all where that borders would be awesome. Thanks, Bex. So just slipping it in there. There we go. So instead of a pip in there, we've now got a walnut. Now we take our goat's cheese and a teaspoon, and we're just going to divide. And the way to do it is put some on a teaspoon and then just slide it up the side of the plastic dish like that, and then come along here and then using your thumb, slide it off like that. Still leaving them all open. They're ready, okay. So you just come along there and slide it off like that. And you're just dividing the amount of goat's cheese up between the 4 or 2 dates, depending on how many you got. So again, and then just slide it off like that. There you go. And then there's some left on the spoon, and that is for the cook. Yummy. Beautiful. Now, what we do is we just come along here and we close these guys up. And some's going to squirt out the end, don't worry about it, like that. Now, we come along, we've got our bacon, start one end and kind of stretch the bacon. See, it's kind of stretchy stuff, look, see? Look how stretchy it is. And this way we can basically cover up the end, the bits where the goat's cheese is coming out. Then take a chopstick and poke it through the middle like that and pop it on your baking tray. There we go. So another one, stretchy bacon, stretch it out, come along here like this, start with not right in the middle, just sort of on an end like that. So the bacon's at one end, and then just roll it, and then just slowly ensure that you cover and then back to the other end. There we go.
Jeanette is loving your work, Simon.
Oh, I love Jeanette. Happy days. Happy Friday. There we go.
Stephanie's ready for the entree. She's getting boozed already.
Uh-oh, we better hurry up, otherwise. There's always one. Stephanie, slow down. Slow down. Hey, what's everybody doing tomorrow? I am at the Green Expo in Ellerslie tomorrow with Sean, the nutritionist. I do the 4 Wheels of Health course, and we're doing a talk for an hour at midday tomorrow. If anybody's feeling healthy, one last stretch, and bacon is ready to go. Now, about now, the veggies will be ready to come out of the oven. So we're going to come over here, and we're just going to poke that one through there. There you go. They are all done, ready to go in the oven. Let's take the veggies out. Let's come over here and see how they've wilted down. There we go. And this is now soft and it's cooked. Everything else has got a little bit of a crunch.
Simon, Mary would like you to slow down a little bit, please.
Slow down a bit for Mary, that's okay. No worries. How's everybody? I know we've got a few people who are cooking tomorrow night and on Sunday night because they couldn't make it tonight. So a big hi to them when they check in. Now we're just going to slowly and carefully put all the veggies in here. And we're going to continue cooking these guys for a little bit. There we go. And see how the oil, we put quite a lot of extra virgin olive oil in there, but that pan is pretty dry. All that goodness, those antioxidants are now into the veggies. And I'll just pick up the ones that I seem to have scattered everywhere. There we go. And now your sauce will be really starting to smell good. Have a good smell of that. You like that? Yeah. Hopefully everybody at home is thinking, so this is really saucy because the eye fillet, because eye fillet is just tender meat and not bursting with flavour because it doesn't have a lot of fat in it. So I want the sauce to be punchy with flavour and really saucy. So you'll be looking at that and go, wow, there's a lot of that tomato sauce in there. But that's the bit, once we eat that with the eye fillet, I think will be pretty delicious. Now, can we turn your oven down to 185 degrees C? So it's been at 200, the veggies have come out, so somebody race over and turn the oven down to 185 degrees. Now, if you're really hungry, we could cook the dates, but I think we're just a wee bit early. Should we cook the dates yet or not? I think what we should do is now drain the capers. So they've had plenty of time to soak. So now I'm just going to drain off that water. And I'm going to come over here and I'm squeezing them out. I'm going to get a good squeeze to get most of the water out, but I don't want to squeeze the living daylight out of them. So I've just given them a little squeeze. And now come over here and then I'm just going to chop them up. There we go. Nice and fine. There we go. Happy days. Hey, what's everybody doing for a Christmas ham? We have got Christmas hams at Gault's Deli. This is the sales pitch. Are you ready? We have Christmas hams. If you're in the Auckland area, we will deliver it to your door. They come from the Mangawai Butcher up north. They do them especially for us. They did them last year. They did them the year before. They are spectacular Christmas hams. We'll deliver them to your door. Any order, so you need to order them now because in time. Yeah, we've got another special. I've got another sales pitch later on. But if you're thinking about Christmas hams, also we have a cooking class, 2 cooking classes coming up. We have one on the 26th of November, and that is a Thermomix class. So it's a special machine. A really clever chef and an old friend of mine from Christchurch is flying up to do the demonstration. It's at midday. It's completely free, and it'll be about an hour long, maybe a bit longer, and he's going to show you a whole bunch of really cool summer food. And on the 5th of December, I'm doing healthy summer cooking at Gault's Deli as well, another cooking class. Right, let's get the capers in. Let's get these guys in.
Here's the same question.
Yes, question.
How big are the hams?
How big are the
Are they
hams?
the same as last year? We did the 4 and the 8 kilo?
Yeah,
Same as last
yeah,
year?
yeah. So 4, we have one that's approximately 4 kilos and another one that's approximately 8 kilos. So you can have like a half ham or a whole ham. There we go. Now look at that. Now what we need to do now is just go, it's kind of ready, but we haven't tasted it yet. Because once we serve it, it's too late. So we're going to need to taste it, but we're going to leave it because we've still got that dry sherry left to go in. But I don't want to do it until the steak is cooked. So I'm taking that off the heat now. That is our vegetable and sauce dish all ready for our eye fillet. Has the pine nuts to go on top, has the dry sherry to go in at the last minute. We'll taste it and season it with salt and pepper. Now, if you, with your celery, when you chop your celery up, I kept all the leaves. If you didn't, no big deal. But I just kept the end bits of the celery because those bits are tasty, and I'm going to just chop those up at the last minute and sprinkle them over the top. Now, if you didn't save it, you've got heaps of herbs. We sent you half of my garden by the time all these hampers went out. My garden is looking a little bit on the light side. So you've got a heap of herbs, right? And this magic herb, and Bex is going to start doing this. So I'm going to come down here, and you might want to come around this side. Simone, I'm not sure, however you think. Don't forget, hopefully you've all got that eye filled out and it's getting to room temperature. Let's get the Italian parsley out. So we've got all these herbs, right? And they're a bit of a difficult. So you've got sage. Some of you have got pineapple sage looking a little bit yellow. And basically what the assistant needs to do, in my case Bex, is we're just going to pull these off and we're going to have a pile of the sage leaves. And then the stalk, we're going to ditch the stalk. That is going. And we might not use all these. Now, fantastic thing to do with sage leaves, let me tell you. The most wicked thing you could do, if you've got sage growing in a garden, get a little bit of anchovy. And you go, oh, I hate anchovy, it's salty. You just put a little bit in there, just like a tiny bit, and you smear it on, and then you get another one, and you sandwich them together, and the anchovy will stick them together. And then you get some corn flour and a little bit of ice cold water, and with a fork you mix it up. Then you dip these into corn flour, and then dip it into the mix you've made with water and the corn flour, the cold water. Cold water is the key. Basically you're making a tempura batter, and then you fry them in some oil that's about 180 degrees C, hot oil, and they come out crispy, a little bit salty from the anchovy, and they are the most delicious chips you'll ever taste. Anyway, I love doing those. They're so good.
People are starting to get hungry.
People are starting to get hungry.
Wanting their dates.
Hungry? God, it's only 7:30, fatties. All right, let's put the dates in then, right? Because the oven's at 185 degrees. Let's get some dates cooking. We'll get a bit of protein in you. Dates.
Like the wine is flowing.
The wine is flowing. Okay, so we've got a bunch of boozers. I love it. So the dates are like massively high in carbohydrates. So, you know, I'm not serving potatoes with the beef because dates are really high in carbohydrates. Then we're having the pasta dish, which is all carbohydrates. So we don't need it with the steak. Now you've got the thyme. Bex is just going to come along here and basically get as many of the little thyme leaves as possible and get rid of as much stalk as you can. But, you know, like you will have bits of stalk in, but we're going to chop it up so fine, even the fussiest person at your dinner tonight won't even know.
What was the temperature for the dates?
185 degrees. So we're just going to get as much of this thyme. Now, some of you have got lemon thyme and some of you have got sort of standard thyme, and you'll be able to smell what you've got. Then we're going to get a bunch of, you've got the oregano, which is this one, and same deal, we're going to get a bunch of that. We just pull it off so you get the stalk, and you just, with your fingers, you just pull it like that, and the leaves should just come off, and then we get rid of the stalk. So Bex is going to carry on with that. So, and then we're going to come along and chop that. Okay? Now, whilst Bex is doing that, you've got another bag of parsley. So you had one bag of mixed herbs, which is the thyme, the oregano, the sage, and yeah, that's it. So then there's another one, which is just parsley. So we're going to take some of the parsley, and I'll do the parsley over here. We're going to get rid of most of the stalks, and you've probably got way too much, but you can use it. You can save some for a garnish if you don't have any of the celery leaves left. Keep a little bit of this Italian parsley. But we're making a steak butter. That is a great thing to have with a steak, is you want that sort of melting steak, garlicky, but we're doing herbs in here, parsley, Italian parsley, and we're using gorgonzola dolce. So there's two types of gorgonzola. Gorgonzola is a blue cheese. There's picante and there's dolce. And the picante is a sweet, well, dolce means sweet in Italian. So gorgonzola dolce, or there's the picante, which is really strong. So I've gone for the dolce, which is the sweeter one. So what we're doing is not forgetting we've got those dates in the oven now. Our carbonara is pretty much ready. All we've got to do is season it, and we've got to put our dry sherry in at the last minute. Right now I'm chopping up, any minute, this parsley for the steak butter, and I think I've probably got enough, so I'm going to just ditch that there. And now I've got this mess of parsley here, so grab it all in a bunch and bunch it up like that. Squeeze it into as much as a ball as you can, and then use your hand like a claw, and then again we're going to roll the knife like this. Watching those fingers, and they're moving. My actual fingers and hand is moving backwards away from the knife. There we go. So now they're pretty much chopped up. Now put one hand here on that end of the knife, and I'm pushing down. The knife is straight up and down, then I'm going to go around like this. And I'm pushing down with my left hand and just getting it all chopped up as much as I can. Now, have we got a food processor? Would be really cool is to have a food processor handy. I've got the little, these new Smeg mixers, the stick blender, and it comes with a potato masher, and it comes with this thing. They are the business. They've just come into New Zealand. And I'm going to put the parsley into our little food processor. It's got a blade in there, because what we want to do is get it as fine as possible. Can I have that plate there, please? That's it. So we asked you to get, if you're a 4-pack, 4 tablespoons of butter, or if you're a 2-pack, 2 tablespoons of butter. There is the La Delia smoked paprika. That's this little thing here, and we've measured out just the perfect amount. This, on roasted potatoes, on roasted kumara, in sauces, you could put it in the carbonara to give it a smoky flavour if you wanted to, if you had this. It is absolutely delicious in cooking. Here we go. I'm going to put that in with the parsley. We are making the steak butter. Now, I've got the garlic, and you know, to me, a steak butter's got to have garlic. So, all the team at work have carefully peeled the garlic for you. So I'm just going to literally, there's 2 ways you could do it. You could just go and squash it like that, give it a little crunch, and then chop it a little bit, because you want to help the food processor, or just chop it up like that. There we go. So it's into slices. Any questions I need to worry about, Megan?
Just one for Simone, actually.
Yeah, what was Ben asking?
Ben Jones would like to know, as the assistant, how much he should be charging.
Not enough. Not enough. It's all the experience. You know, most assistants pay to come and work here, you know. Actually, we were talking about it the other day, saying next time we should actually invite some people to come here and be part of the actual experience, but they'll have to do the dishes. Somebody's got to do the dishes. Now, you've got that gorgonzola, and it's probably pretty soft if it's been sitting out at room temperature, and it's gorgonzola dolce. And I'm going to tell you how gorgonzola dolce was born. But let's have a look at those dates quickly. I want a bit more colour than that. You can see the bacon is cooking, but they're looking pretty good. So you can kind of forget those. You can't really overcook them. So there was a guy, and he used to make the gorgonzola. And what they would do at night is they milk the cows, and then the next day they would use the milk from the night before to make gorgonzola picante. But he had a hot date this night, and he left early before he got enough milk, because he was more interested in his hot date. And when he came in the morning to make his gorgonzola picante, or back then it was just gorgonzola, he didn't have enough milk. So he thought, what am I going to do? So he got some milk from the morning and combined it with the milk from the night, and then they ended up with this cheese that the milk from the night before was hard, and then the milk from the morning was soft. And when you look at gorgonzola, it has little hard bits in it and quite blue, and then soft bits in it. So that's the sweeter, more mild gorgonzola. So yeah, I don't know how the date went for him, but that's how gorgonzola dolce was born. So I'm going to put the whole lot in there, and see, even it's got a little bit of the rind on there. Beautiful cheese, this. I love it. But actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it there. If you put it in, don't worry about it. I'm going to give this a little bit of a blend up first, just to give it a bit of a start. So,
What's in there again?
so in here we have the parsley, the garlic, and the smoked paprika. And you can see how it's turned into a beautiful fine mixture. Now, I've got a fine mixture. I'll put the gorgonzola in, and I will put the butter in, which is soft. See, it's quite soft. So there's 4 tablespoons of butter there, because I'm doing a 4-pack. If you're doing a 2-pack, then it's 2 tablespoons of butter. And then we come along here like this, and we put the lid back on. There we go. Now, gorgonzola is a little bit salty. We've got the garlic in there. And here now we've got this beautiful steak butter ready to go. Have a taste. And you get the pepperiness, like the burn from the garlic, but you've got that lovely, soft, subtle flavour of the blue cheese. If you don't like blue cheese, you need to harden up and start liking blue cheese, because it's this with the parsley in it is just unbelievably wicked. Right, so I've got the bowl that I had the butter in. These are my new bowls from Briscoe's. They're pretty cool, eh? It's a whole set. They've just come out. Can I have a spoon, Bex? Thanks. Now, you could do two things now. We could keep this in the fridge. I always like to have some of this in the fridge, and then if I end up doing some steaks on the barbecue, I can just take it out and put a good dollop on top. Can you wash that? Thanks. So we're going to need the blender again now. So there we go. There's our steak butter ready to go, which is going to go on top of our steak. Done. I'm going to leave mine out at room temperature so it melts a little bit quicker. And when it melts into the carbonara, it's going to be delicious. So I'm just going to leave that out. That's all ready for our steak. I'm now, whilst I'm using the blender, I'm going to make sure it's really well cleaned. And you need to make sure it is super clean, because you don't want the flavour of garlic or the garlic or the blue cheese or the parsley going into our sorbet. All right, how's this? So you've got a bag of sorbet. Flip this over, there we go. Now I am going to break this up. Just using the back end of a knife. I need that bit of paper, please. No, the other one. Megan took it away. Can you grab it? The bit of paper. Oh. Thanks. So I'm just breaking it up. And I'll have the clean container. There we go. Don't poke yourself in the eye with this. That's awesome, thanks. So this is a combination of pineapple and passion fruit. Honey is in here. What else did we put in here? Honey, which will make it...
Rum.
And
Rum.
yeah, a little bit of rum in there. So we've smashed it up, and the passion fruit is from Ecuador, and the pineapple comes from somewhere famous. Costa Rica, that's right. So now it's all sort of broken up, and I'm going to put that into here, and we're going to have a silky smooth tropical gelato sort of sorbet gig going on. And there's way more than what you need for tonight, but I'm sure you won't complain about that in the next day or so. And even the bavois that you've already made, has everybody made the bavois? Nobody actually commented on that, whether they did or didn't.
Find out.
So here we go. So I'll just take that off, and you can see in here that it's not, but look how it's changed colour, and look how it's gone wickedly smooth. Who needs an ice cream machine, right? And the trick in there that makes it go smooth is the honey. There we go. Does anybody recognise that? Thank you. Renee, I've still got your container that says there on it, which is getting used to put the sorbet that I've just literally blended up in that food processor. How are those dates looking, Bex? I must be getting rough. Yeah, can you guys smell the dates? They should be starting to smell good. There we go. Little bit, don't want to waste it. Now just smooth that in there. I've got one little crunchy bit that didn't mix up in there. That won't matter. There we go. And now I'm going to pop that back in the freezer. And again, it's like when we cook. And it's sharp. It's a tropical gelato. In the freezer, thanks, Bex. Wicked. So all we're going to do now, have you got those ready for me? So now I've got a whole heap of herbs, and maybe that's a little bit too much, but you know, you can have as much or a little. Oh, what the hell, let's just do the whole lot, right? Now what I want to do is chop all this up. I don't have to put it all in. These are the herbs that are going to go in the caponata, and I want to put them in kind of at the last minute because I want to keep that colour and that real freshness of the herbs coming in the caponata. So we just need to chop that up, and once we've done this, we'll get the dates out, and everybody can have a date and see what they think of the dates. You could do this in the food processor if you want. It'd be way easier. There we go. Knife skills, yeah, knife skills. There you go. I'm using a small knife. I should be using a... I think we've got you back. Sorry about that. We disappeared. I can't have paid the internet bill. There.
Keep shopping.
Yeah, just keep chopping.
There's a few people still lost.
They're lost or they're not back?
Back again. We're on.
Okay.
Still shopping.
Still chopping. So you get them chopped up. Tell you, these, you know, you could have a $500 knife, which most chefs pay that sort of money, or you can buy a cheap one like this from Briscoe's. It's not quite big enough, but tell you what, for the money you pay, they're pretty damn good. Actually, when with the Smeg kettle, why don't we give one of my knives away as well? So don't forget, if you're taking photos or videos from tonight and you post them on the Gault Stelly Facebook page, you will go in the draw to win the Smeg kettle, and we'll throw in one of my knives as well. Okie dokie. I'm going to grab a bowl. Here we go. Pick all these herbs up, put those in. Wow, look at that, a bowl of herbs. There you go, all the way from my garden. Okay, Bex, you're going to make all that disappear. That's what your assistant is for, make things disappear. Clean up all these herbs. There we go. And by all the magic in the world, we have a bowl back. Let's get these dates out. Look at these bad boys. Get in there, Simone. They look good. They smell delicious. So let's just, now they'll be hot for the moment, and maybe you could just grab a tea towel and just let it rest on there for a minute so it absorbs any excess fat coming out of that bacon. Here we go. Happy days. There we go. Get your laughing gear around those, I reckon. What are we? How long have we been going for? Oh, we've been going for an hour and a quarter. But it's all a home run now. So, you guys can stand around and drink and have that. I need all this spaghetti stuff. So just pass it all over to me, Bex. So, you would have seen we said we need peppercorns, right? So, carbonara is all about technique because we're going to use eggs and cheese to make a creamy sauce. But the key is the water that we cook the spaghetti in. And carbonara has lots of black pepper, but preferably not ground black pepper. So you want to get peppercorns. Let's have a little poke in here. So they're whole peppercorns because they're going to be fresh, and we want to use the inside of the peppercorn. And just by literally grinding them up. Now, if you don't have one of these, you could put them on a board and get a wine bottle and lay a tea towel over the top of them, and then use a wine bottle like a rolling pin, and your wine bottle might break and you get red wine everywhere, and then I won't be very popular, but I'm pretty sure that will work. There we go. So I'm just going to really grind these bad boys up and get in there and have a good smell, and then you'll be like, it'll go right up your nose and won't be good. Yeah, but I tell you what, pepper ground like this, as you need it, really makes a difference. And we're going to need about, for a pack of 4, 3/4 to a teaspoon of black pepper. It's a lot of black pepper. Here we go. Can I have another bowl, Bex? Now, if you've got, what's that? Here we go. So now I've got a sieve, right? And I've got this pepper that I've pretty much really crushed up. And put it in there, and then we'll just, and you'll see we get this really fine pepper, which is the middle part, and then we'll keep the rest of it, and we can put that in a pepper grinder or use it later, because you see I've got some chunky stuff, which is the outside of the pepper corn. There we go. So I just put them back in here, and I'll use those at another time. I'll need that later, Bex. All right, now what I want you to do is I want the peppers done, right? We're ready. We've got our guanciale cut. We are going to grate our piece of parmesan, but we're going to save about 1/4 of it for when we want to garnish the dish. So just open that up and take the piece of Parmigiano Reggiano out, and we'll come over to the stove, and I'm going to just get a little bit more water in there, and we're going to get some water on to cook our pasta in. So pop that on, and I'm going to get that really hot. Now you have got a magical ingredient to go in there, and that is herb salt. And I invented this ages ago for the restaurant, and we sprinkle it on fish, we could put it on steak, but most importantly, when we cook things in water, we put the herb salt in. And you'll see when we put it in, you just get it in little jars like this. Restaurants buy it in great big things of it, but they love it because suddenly the salt's got lots of flavour. And we're going to make the water angry, right? We're going to make it really pissed off. And we're going to get it bubbling, and then we're going to put the herb salt in there, and then we've given you not just everyday boring old supermarket pasta, we've given you pasta from a company that when they extrude this, it goes through a bronze extrusion, which is kind of like the Rolls Royce of pushing the pasta out, and it is made with eggs, and you can feel it, it's all lumpy, comes in a packet like this. They do all sorts, they do spaghetti, fettuccine, all the different pastas. but it is egg. See the eggs on there? I mean, it's egg pasta. This is the real deal. It's like super, super good. So we have the pasta ready. We've got the water on. How are the dates, everybody?
I've asked that, just waiting for some comments.
Maybe they're still waiting for them to cool down. You guys should have one. Have one. Have one. Oh, they're still a little bit warm. Yeah, I guess they're a little bit warm. I've got the herb salt ready. I've got the pepper over here. And I need a pan. I've got a pan, and it must not be hot. Really important it's not hot. Don't even turn it on. And we're going to put the guanciale that we've cut up into small pieces like that, right? Put it into the pan. But do not turn the pan on. It is imperative that we always start with a cold pan because we want to render the fat out, because the fat is going to be the bit that's going to make the sauce taste incredible. And the water's starting to get a little angry, right? But before we do that, we'll just do that because we're about, when I put the pasta in, we're about 9 minutes away from having our first course. So you need 4 entree plates ready. You need really angry water. And watch it. Well, in goes that herb salt. Look at the colour change. That is flavour, right? Just it's gone like green. Turn the heat down a wee bit. Now that can just bubble away ready. The guanciale is not on. The pepper is over here ready. The spaghetti is ready. Let's come over here and start getting ready for the sauce. So, you need, if it's a 4-pack, 3 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. If it's a 2-pack, you can't divide an egg in half, so you need 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. Okay? So if it's a 4-pack, we're going to, and I've got different size because I've got some farm eggs here, so I've got different size eggs. It doesn't matter. If they're small like that, use an extra one, right? Don't be shy. So I'm doing a 4-pack. So 1 whole egg goes in, the whole egg white, everything. Now I'm going to put 3 egg yolks in. This is a tiny one, isn't it? Looks pretty awesome though. Good old farm eggs. Here we go. Now, can somebody go and turn your oven up to 200 degrees, please? So we had it down at 185 for the date. We need it to go back up to 200 to cook our steak. If we're going to cook a piece of steak, we want to cook it in a hot oven. Righto. That is the eggs in there. Any questions?
No, but the dates are going down a treat.
The dates are going down a treat. Yeah, they're pretty awesome, right? Okay, whoops. Okay, so we just whisk those up. I should have a couple of garlic cloves. Yep, that's it. Here we go. So give it a good whisk up. We're low on time, but that's happy days, right? All right, so the egg is ready. We've got.
Simon, I might need some help.
Oh, you want?
This beautiful
Okay.
machine.
Okay, there we go. No, it's all good.
Thank you.
200 degrees. Okay, so the garlic, we're actually going to cook with the guanciale, but we are not going to eat the garlic. So this time I want you to gently crush it. So knife just on there like this. So it's just crushed a little bit, right? If you really smash it too hard, you end up with more than one piece. I was hoping to really show off and just show you this beautiful one piece of garlic that was nicely crushed, but that was an epic fail. But I've got some pieces of garlic, and that is going into the cold pan with the guanciale. All right. Now we'll come over here, and I've got the Parmesan Reggiano, and I've got the eggs which have been whisked and they're all combined and nice and runny. I'm going to put 3/4 of the cheese. I'm going to grate it straight into the eggs. And if little chips of Parmigiano come off, as they are for me, that's okay. We can always pull them out and add them a little bit later. So this is going to be a cheesy, creamy sauce. And hey, look, when you get little chips out like that, try it. New Zealand makes incredible cheese, but it has New Zealand Parmesan, made by these big guys called Fonterra, there is no geographical authenticity with it at all. It's mass-made crap, you know, but then there's some guys making good cheese. And if we make New Zealand cheese, we shouldn't call it Parmesan. We don't copy champagne from champagne. We're not allowed to call it that. And the EU is getting upset about it. So if you're going to use Parmesan, use the real deal from Italy, or don't use Parmesan. Now, I've got one little bit there. Let's grate that in.
So Mary Jones said the dates are bloody delicious, even the teenagers are not right.
Oh, happy days. So I've got a little bit left over, and I will need the grater when I go to serve it. You've got my plates ready. So just going to give this a whisk up. Someone's drinking champagne and filming. That's the way life should be, right? There we go. So now we've got cheesy eggs. Beautiful, look at that. Okay, let's head over here. Let's get our water a bit angry again. Are we ready to start doing our carbonara? We will be 9 minutes away from serving our first course. And then you can have a 10-minute break to eat it. Then we'll get the eye fillet cooking, finish the caponata. I will plate the dessert and I will leave you to it. But this is the best spaghetti dish. Hopefully after tonight you are converted. It is so easy. You can have all this ready before your guests turn up. You can literally have your cold pan out with your garlic. You could have your eggs done with your Parmesan cheese in it, your water, some pepper, ready to go. Okay, are we ready, team? Can we go? Excellent. So in goes the spaghetti. Get that water angry as soon as possible, and then you need to time 8 minutes. That spaghetti needs to be coming out 8 minutes after it goes in and all gets submerged into that water. It'll disappear pretty quickly. Give it a little bit of encouragement.
So what did you put in the water? Or is just that salt?
The water, it's just boiling water with the herb salt. I'm just going to get in here and grab a spoon. That'll do. And damn it. I had that fancy gadget for getting spaghetti out that I borrowed. There it is. I've got an Italian friend and I was around at their place for dinner and they did spaghetti and I was like, that's cool. Can I borrow that? I'm doing this class for these guys and that'd be cool. There we go. It's all right. Angry water. Beautiful. And turn it down so it's not quite so grumpy. There we go. Now I am going to turn the heat on of the guanciale. Now we do not want it to go brown. When it goes brown, you think it's not burnt, but it will start to taste not as good when it's brown. So we slowly bring the heat up and you're going to watch this. The flavour of the garlic is going to go into the fat that's rendered out of, remember guanciale is the pork cheek. Then we're going to start adding some water that we cook the spaghetti in. And then you're going to see it emulsify with the fat. And it's all about technique now, right? And once you've got this down, you can, and most restaurants will never do this because the technique required is, you know, you've got to learn from somebody who really knows how to do it. So I'm pretending I know how to do it, okay? So just trust me for the moment. So I can hear it starting to like sizzle away there. It's just starting. I haven't even moved it really. But if you look here, you can see that the fat is starting to change colour. And you see the fat starting to come out on the pan. Any minute. Won't take long. Anyway, I'm going to start moving it around. And that garlic flavour is going in there. So you've got a cold pan. You've got the guanciale in there. You've got the garlic which you've just crushed so that the oil of the garlic will come out. We'll just get enough garlic flavour going through this dish. Here we go. Our spaghetti is just over here bubbling away. That's good. And somebody is timing your 8 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes, 10 seconds.
She's
Yeah.
amazing. You go, Beck. She's got a couple of fans here, by the way.
Has she?
Yeah.
I tell you what, whenever I do these demos, nobody ever wants to take me home. They always want to take, it's either Sawati or Beck's home. They want to take them home. And back in the day when I was, going around the country doing lots of demos, I used to do it with Rob, and everybody wanted to take him home. But anyway, maybe you could do some moonlighting. Everybody will be going, I wonder what that Bex looks like. See, that's her over there. She's going to hide. Bex, come on, smile. She has the most beautiful smiley face. No, that was my fault. Sorry, she's not going to talk to us for the rest of the night now. If you're ever calling it Gault's Deli, which is in Spartan Road in Takanini, Bex runs it. She's the boss. Now you can you see the fat starting to come out of this? And it's sizzling away. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit, right? Wrong one. Try that one, Simon. There we go. Can we see now? See how all this fat down here? See how it's pooling down there? That is the flavour. But we don't want the pan too hot, because that's when we'll end up with sort of really dark colour. Because you watch, it'll change colour any minute really quickly. We're just rending it out to get that fat out of the guanciale, get the flavour from the garlic going. And shortly we're going to add the pepper. And you can see some pieces of pepper in here that have been, that the actual guanciale has been cured with. There we go. So you should have your bowl of eggs, the egg yolk and the whole eggs and the Parmesan cheese grated in there. And there you go, that's cooking away nicely. Now you can really see all that fat now. That is flavour. If anybody is sitting there going, oh, it's fat, it's bad for me, harden up. This is flavour. Honestly, it's good for you. The person who said fats are bad for us, well, they got it wrong. There we go. So that is pretty much just about done. And I am going to now add the pepper. Now don't be shy. Can I just jump in here and I'll get a measuring thing to show you. So here's a teaspoon. So it's about 3/4 of a teaspoon, I'd say. And in it goes. Now, turn the heat off. Right, so there's no heat in here. Now, if we start, because the spaghetti is going to go into this, the water from the spaghetti is going to go in there and it's going to start to emulsify. Then we're going to mix the eggs in. If this is too hot and sizzling, the eggs will turn into scrambled eggs, and that's an epic fail. So we don't want that. So just follow with me and watch. See how I've got some nice colour on this, but it's not dark. It's just coloured. Is there a spoon in there? That's it. Now grab a biggish spoon, right? And I want to stop the cooking. I don't want this to keep cooking because that fat is so hot, it will keep cooking and the guanciale will just get browner and browner. So come along here, take a spoon and see how, now give it a shuffle like that. And straight away it starts to emulsify. Another one. And there's no heat under here. This is not on. This is a cold element. There we go. And suddenly you can see that the fat and the liquid from the spaghetti, which has got that herb salt in there, is starting to emulsify. And this is when I start to get really excited because this is going to be so good. I tell you, really, really good. Now just a little bit. How are we going on time? 40 seconds away. So a little bit more of the liquid, and I don't want to see it sizzle. I know I can think about eggs. See how it's not sizzling anymore? Happy days. Right, now you need a pair of tongs, or I might use those big ones. So now, you can come along, you can do two things here. We'll do it properly. I was going to just cheat it. So I'm going to get a bowl. I'm going to we'll come over here. I've got a bowl. I'd like a bigger one, but I've got that sieve that I use for the pepper. And I'm just saving a little bit of the juice, just the liquid there that I cooked it in case I need it. So that's, there you go. So now there's the spaghetti. Now watch this. So this is not sizzling now, right? If it's still sizzling, bad news. Now we need to take out the garlic now. Get the garlic out. Just, all those bits of garlic can come out. Put one Charlie in. I'll get rid of the garlic. I don't need that. It's going down the waste disposal. Now, in goes the spaghetti. Now, it's all about technique here. Now, we just need to toss it around like this. This is when you get spaghetti all over the kitchen. See how it's tossed around? And you can see now all the pepper is covered on it. We've got the guanciale evenly mixed in. Now, in goes the... If you've got a spatula, it'd be kind of cool for this, so you get it all in. So that's ready now, and it's not sizzling, it's not super hot. We're not aiming to burn everybody's mouth here. And then in it goes, all in one go. There you go. And now we're going to get ready to toss it around like before. Here we go. There we go. Now, we've got this beautiful creamy sauce, and the heat of the spaghetti is doing all the cooking that the eggs need. And if anybody's thinking, oh, the eggs aren't cooked, they have been doing this in Italy for a long time. Trust me. Here we go. Now let's serve it up. You got some plates ready? So just like, if you're using tongs, grab some together, lift it up, hold the pan over the plate, move the pan away, put it down, and then turn it when you put it on. There you go. Nice big spoon, tongs full, pan's over, ready. Move the pan away, drop it down like that, and you see it doesn't really work. But I've got a little bit extra there, so let's get a little bit more on here. I think this will be rich, delicious. You got a little spoon over there, big spoon. And you'll have a little bit left in there. Yeah. I don't want to waste any in here. And just a little cloth to wipe up. The plate would be good. Like, have you got a little wet cloth or maybe just a paper towel if you want to make the... that's somebody at the gate called Simon's husband who could smell the spaghetti and he's like turned up.
Great timing.
Here we go. So hopefully, team, you've got this lovely, creamy deliciousness. You just need a fork and, you know, traditionally probably a spoon if you want to be fancy pants. But get your laughing gear around this is what I say.
Well, everyone's gone quiet, so they must be concentrating.
Creamy, the flavour of the guanciale comes through. And the pepperiness is not blowing my head off, but it's just this like lovely heat that finishes off. Here, Megan, have one of these.
Can I let him in?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, we have to, yeah. No, I'll push the button. We'll let somebody in. Bex, you going to have one? Here you go.
Are we going to have a little pause?
So I reckon we can have a little break. Are there any questions that anybody wants any help with right now? It's a shame I can't see how you're going. No questions there?
Nothing at the moment. I'll keep our eyes peeled.
That's good. Let's just, we'll put it on the tripod and we'll give you 10 minutes and then we've got our oven up at 200 degrees C, ready for our steak. We're going to need a pan to seal our steak in. We're going to need a dish to cook our steaks in. So if you want to, you can take these out of the bag ready. You'll need salt and pepper. You've got that little bit of extra virgin olive oil left. We've got all the herbs chopped ready to finish our carbonara with. And quickly, you've got a little bit of parmigiano left over. Just grate a little bit over the top for those that want it. Because now they've had a try of it, you can kind of say, you know, would you like a little parmigiano over the top? Dion, come and try some.
Can you say hi to them?
Hi honey, I'm home. Hey Mary. I'm hungry, what's for dinner?
Here you go.
Oh,
Come around here and try, and I'll put a little parmigiano over the top. Try that and tell me what you think.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Will you marry me? That's beautiful.
I had a hot date last night. I'm not marrying you.
Oh, get out of here.
Right. Anyway, let's give everybody a little break for 10 minutes. Then we'll come back. All we've got to do is seal the eye fillet, get it in the oven, heat our carbonara, finish it,
How are you going to do the pudding? How are you going to
and then once the steak comes out of the oven, because the steak will go in the oven, and then when it comes out, whilst the steak is cooking, I'm going to show you how you finish the dessert, so that when after you've eaten your steak, you can plate your dessert. I hope you guys are taking photos of your dish. You've got to be in to win the cookbook and the Smeg mixer. And remember, you can choose what colour you want, and you post it on Gault's Deli Facebook page. And anyway, I'll shut up and let you eat your spaghetti in peace, which I hope you're enjoying. Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll all have music. They'll all be partying. And if you want to put your carbonara just on a low heat so it starts to heat up, that would be cool. Make sure you've got a pan ready to do your eye fillet in. I am going to take the eye fillet out of the bags, ready to go. And when you take them out of the bags, just pop them onto the dish that you're going to roast them in. This is Savannah eye fillet, which when I did Jervois Steakhouse, we sampled all the different eye fillets in New Zealand and decided Savannah was the best that you could buy. It is really good, and hopefully the proof will be in the pudding when you cook it. So I've got the steak ready to go, I've got some salt and pepper ready to go, I've got a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and a pan. And we'll give everybody a little break. You guys eat this. Everybody, desserts is going to be the finale from hell. But now we've got these eye fillet at room temperature. That is giving us a really good fighting start. And they're quite big and I feel them. They're at room temperature. I've got that little bit of extra virgin olive oil that's left. Are we ready for me to start cooking? Let's just go through. So I've got some salt. I'm using the Murray River salt, which comes from the Murray River. And you should always have a favourite salt. Some people love Himalayan salt. Some people love Maldon salt, Marlborough salt. I really like the Murray River. So that's what I'm using, just if you're wondering. And I've got the eye fillet, salt and pepper. I've got some tongs ready. I've got a pan on and the heat is on. And the carbonara is now come up to heat. So it's starting to bubble away there. And all those flavours will have infused. I've got the dry sherry that's left over ready. I've got the pinoli nuts which have been toasted. I've got all of those herbs and I've got a teaspoon ready to taste it, so that I can decide if I want to add salt and pepper. The oven is at 200 degrees Celsius. I'm now going to turn the pan heat up just to reasonably hot. I don't want to ruin the extra virgin olive oil. When you cook with extra virgin oil, if the oil starts smoking, you turn it into a carcinogenic oil and then it's not good for you. So, but because the steak has got moisture, we'll get steam and smoke coming out. That's pretty normal. So anyway, I'm just going to put just a couple of drops, literally, on each steak. I'm just going to rub it in. There we go. Now, healthy grind of black pepper and salt. Well, it doesn't matter if you're cooking steak on the barbecue or anywhere. Always season it just before you're about to cook it, and definitely salt, only no more than 4 minutes. Now this Murray River salt, really need to grind it up. Some of it will come off in the pan when I cook it. Now give it a little bit of a pat so it sort of sticks to it like that. Now there's some pepper all around the place, so just grab some of that. Flip them over, grab some pepper around the outside, flip it over, same deal down here. So we get some of that pepper around the outside, flip it over, same deal there, flip it over. Now you need to wash your hands if you're dipping your hand into the salt, so you've got clean hands to go back into the salt. And now it gets another good, doesn't matter whether you put salt or pepper on first, whatever you like. And pepper. We are good to go. Let's go over to the pan. Let's take our steaks over. We've got our tongs. There's a little bit of extra virgin olive oil left. We'll put that into the pan. And you can see that's good and hot, maybe a little too hot, so I'm pulling it off the heat. That's exactly what I was talking about. What you don't really want to do is get it too hot. But that's not going to be. And now we don't touch it. You know, the temptation now is to start prodding it, moving it around. Just leave it, and the steak will literally repel itself off the pan. All we want to do is seal it, and people refer to that as the caramelization that occurs on the outside of the piece of meat. But it's the technical scientific term is the Maillard effect. That's the reaction that is happening, and that is what's going to make the taste really yummy on the outside. I'll just put a bit of extraction on there. If you were cooking these on the barbecue, you would oil them and season them and then have your barbecue good and hot and get them all seared on all sides, and then we would turn the barbecue heat down and leave it for probably 4 minutes on one side and then 4 minutes on the other side. But don't turn the steak all the time. Even if it's a Scotch fillet and it's a thin piece of steak, you know, let it cook and watch the side of the steak on the barbecue as it's about cooking up the side. When it's about 3/4 of the way cooked up, then flip it. But here, you can see here, if we look in here, you can see starting to cook up the side there, and it's repelled off, and we've got some great colour. You can see that pepper on there. Flip it over, and we'll do the other side, and then we'll do the edges. Now, see, again, I'm not moving the steak. I'm waiting for it to literally repel itself off the pan. And you can turn the heat down a little bit if you think it's a bit hot. I think that's a little bit on the hot side. This is an induction cooktop. So when you cook on gas, you can see the heat. On induction, you can't. So sometimes you can get a little bit too hot. Over here, the carbonara is ready. I'm going to turn the heat down on that. Just need it to stay nice and hot. And I've got the tray that I season them in. It's going in the oven, so it's absolutely quite fine for me to put them in there. Now that's enough, and we'll see that it's come off nicely now. I'll just do the edges. And some really lovely colour on those. And I'm just going to cook around the edges for a little bit. Now I want you to have a feel of the steak now. If you're cooking it, feel it like that. And that feel is the same as here when it's like that. So that's a raw piece of steak. And as we open our hand up is when it starts to cook more. And then some people say you do, what do you do there? Yeah. And then as you go further, it's medium rare. And right through here, when you feel it like that, it's a lot harder, and that's more like medium to well done. If you had a temperature thermometer, you could cook to an internal temperature. And if you were cooking, if you wanted a blue steak, if you're one of those people, you probably want to cook it to an internal temperature of about 40 degrees. Let's come in here and cook those. And if you wanted rare steak, it would be an internal temperature of about 55. Medium rare, you'd go for about 65, 60 to 65. And medium to well done would be 70. And then if you want it well done, then just leave it and forget about it for a couple of days and have a bit of cardboard later on. There we go. So we've got some good colour all the way around on those steaks. So we'll put them into here. Here we go. The key for the good steak is getting it to room temperature before you even start to cook it. Even if you're cooking a steak on the barbecue, room temperature. Okay, so that oven is really hot. 200 degrees is a hot oven. Let's get them in there and let's forget about them for a while. And then we're going to literally take them out at different times and have a feel and get in real close on there so that you can see where I think it is. And then when they come out of the oven, they actually increase in temperature. You take them out and put them on a wooden board, they will continue to increase in temperature. If it was a chicken and you took it out of the oven, it would actually increase in temperature by about 8 degrees. Now, that means it's still cooking when it's sitting out on the chopping board when it comes out of the oven. That's why you need to rest it, because if you cut into the chicken straight away when it comes out of the oven, all the juice comes out of the chicken and you have juice all over the plate and you have a really dry piece of chicken. Now, a steak is exactly the same. So we will want to rest those steaks for 8 minutes before we cut them. So we're pretty good. Right, now here, whilst that's going on, I'm just going to now get the rest of the dry sherry in there, and then I'm going to put a good handful of the herbs in there. Now I've got some herbs left over. You can think of something to do with those another day. Maybe you could roast some potatoes tomorrow, cover them with a little bit of olive oil, some smoked paprika, and then toss them in those herbs and roast them in the oven. There we go. The caponata is ready with the fennel, the aubergine, and the celery and pepper in there. So now I'm going to have a taste of it. And, you know, I'm going to have a healthy taste of all the sauce. Make sure it's not too hot and burn me. Needs salt. You're going to have to go that way a little bit. I've got a nice big bowl of Murray River salt there. So you need to add as much salt as you think.
Simon, did you give a time for the
No.
sticks? You're just going to
No.
test as you go.
Just get them in. There we go, and I'm going to put plenty of pepper in there. If you are a chili fan, when you cook this again, if ever you cook it, you could get some chopped up chili in there, would be really good as well. Mix that up. And I'll just rinse my spoon before I have another taste. Oh. Now, bland food just tastes like nothing. And if you're not sure how much salt to add to this, take a big spoonful out and put it in another bowl and add salt and pepper to it, taste that, and then go back and taste the one before you put it in and see if it tastes better. And it will just get better and better. But seasoning is going to make it taste really, really good. So this is probably the most important part of this dish, is the seasoning now. So really taste it. Get other people to taste it. Put a big spoonful into another bowl, and maybe you go too much salt and you go, oh, it's a bit too much, but it did taste better by adding more. And it's too late once it's on the plate, right? You know, like this business of, you know, people sit down at the table and then they straight away put salt and pepper on the food. I mean, that's just food, you know? I mean, how do you know whether it needs salt and pepper? As a chef and as all you guys cooking tonight, you're seasoning it here. Now, if they really love salt, sure, add some more, but taste it before you season it, because you're doing your utmost here right now to make it taste incredible. There you go. Happy days. That's done. That's ready. Let's talk about what we got over here. So the steak is cooking. Bex is going to make sure I don't forget it. Here's that foam that we did at the start of the night. Now, all that lysite and sucrose would have absorbed in there, and you've got the vanilla essence in. Now, you've got a little pack, which is the coconut puree. This coconut puree comes from Sri Lanka. It comes in a thing like, somebody will get it for me. Megan, can you grab me the coconut puree so I can sew them? But we've got the packet and we've mixed them up. This over, you know, if you like cereal and things like that, it's just, you can make your yogurt taste incredible. It's just awesome over anything. Anyway, so I'm now going to mix that with the water. And this is going to give our foam that lovely coconut flavour. So that's ready. Now, you need your stick blender again. And you can do this now if you want to, or you can do it later on. But the earlier you do it, the better foam you'll have. Now, I'm tilting the jug on a side or a bowl, and I'm trying to let the stick blender get some air in there as well. And you'll see we'll start to get all this foam coming up. There we go, we've got all that lovely foam sitting on top there like that. Now, this is the pineapple that we have cooked for you, which you have a little bag. So have a bowl ready when you open it up, because there's loads of juice, and that is all Malibu. Another bottle, Megan. So we have cooked that at 85 degrees exactly for 60 minutes in Malibu, and we've vacuum packed it so it's been compressed. Can I have the bottle of Malibu? Yeah, so that's the Malibu, in case you're wondering what Malibu is. So that's in there. So right now you need to have your mint out, and if you kept the fronds off the fennel, we could have that out. You've got your little container with the edible flowers, and then you have this Morello cherry, like wicked cherry, because a pina colada has a cherry in it, but we've given you this cherry puree. This grows at an altitude of 400 meters. All the cherries are picked by hand. It is seriously good cherry. So that is ready to go. We are going to need a little spatula or a little sharp knife to get our bavoirs out of the molds, which could now, well, you'll do it a little bit later, but I'm going to get them out of the fridge so I can show you. And the trick will be just to like literally grab the sharp knife and just run it along the edge and down the ends. Whoops, and it's easy to slice through the mold and then you won't be able to use it again. But you can wash these molds and use them again. Did everybody think this was good value, the packs? Getting all the food and everything delivered and the molds and things? We thought it was pretty good value. There we go. So I'm just loosening them around the edge. There we go. Turn those out and put those there. But right now we're going to have a little look at those steaks. So you could probably, if you've had them in the oven for the same amount of time as me, now they won't be cooked yet, but you can see and you can feel like they're still similar to what they were when we first started cooking. So these are quite rare. This one's cooked a wee bit more. So have you got that round chopping board? Just as an experiment, I'm going to take one out. So this is how you would, you know, if you're cooking lots of steaks in a restaurant, that's how you would test it. So I think this one will be quite nice and rare. So I'm going to take that one out now. Can you see that movement there? It's got a little bit of pushback, but it's kind of like, feels very similar. So you get your feeling in the middle of the steak, like that. And if it was a Scotch fillet or a sirloin, you'd do it by pushing on top of the steak like this, because it was much thinner and you can't get your hand in there to do it. So you would feel on top like that. I'm going to put the rest of them back in the oven so we can see different degrees of cooking. The hardest part with the dessert will be getting these guys out nicely. So we're just going to have to, can I have a, that's what I want. I'm just going to put a wet cloth under this board. You can use any chopping board, but it will be better on a nice flat surface to try and take these guys out. So you just want to start it coming out, and you can see the air getting in here. And then just push it out. And it will slowly come out, and then if you've got one of these, great, and I'm suspecting you don't, so you could just use a sharp knife, small knife. And there it comes out quite nicely. It's just getting it started. And then it will literally fall out. So you can see I'm holding one end up and this end is on the board. So this is a slightly fancier dessert, I guess, than what we did last time on the course. For those of you that were on the course, this live cook last time. There you go. So 2 out. Let's get the other one out. And you could just turn it up. And it is easy to sort of end up with a piece that if you rush it, we end up breaking it. See how I've just broken a little bit there and I've left some in there, which is less than ideal. I'll get this one out there. There you go. And last one out there. Might as well get an extra one out. So you got enough dessert for the next couple of nights, the mix made. Happy days. There we go. Now, if you didn't poke a hole in like I did, you can wash these and use them again. But don't put them in the dishwasher. The dishwasher will be too hot. Wash them by hand. So to put our dessert together, we've got our foam, we've got our Malibu pineapple, we've got our Morello dessert, we've got our flowers, and we've got some mint. And some of you, didn't I have a, oh yeah, some of you might have got the chocolate mint, which has got this little white on the end. I know some of the packs got those as well. So you've got different types of mint. And see, this is just sitting over here. I haven't covered it. It's cooling down. So, you know, it's not going to be a piping hot steak, but it's going to be a juicy steak and it's going to be delicious. Maybe I'll just plate one dessert to make it a little bit quicker. And how long on? So there was just a teaspoon of juice in the tray that I cooked. So I've just poured it over the top because that will be lovely flavour. So that is ready to go. But now we're going to time 8 minutes. 8 minutes, and then we are serving the steak. So whilst we're doing that, you need to make sure you've got your beautiful butter out. Look at the colour of that. Absolutely delicious. That's ready to go. We've got our caponata. So you need a tray to put your caponata in. And this is... here you go, you want the ad? There you go. Briscoes! Go Briscoes! Caponata is ready. So that's hot. I've got a tray ready. I've got my plates for the steak. I've got a sharp knife for one, because I'm going to cut the steak in half. And a little bit of basil. Remember on our list we said grab a bit of basil. If you haven't got any basil, maybe you got a little bit of parsley or something, doesn't really matter, but some basil is ready to go there. So let me start plating this dessert up. So I'm going to need some spoons, Bex, tablespoons, and let's do one plate. So you pick these guys up, just carefully. And they'll be quite soft and delicate. Now I haven't plated this up on this plate. I only got these plates from Briscoes today. So it's kind of in a straight line, but let's push it like, get a little bit of squiggle going on, right? Now, there's one piece of the Malibu pineapple per person, and I'm going to cut the end off like that on each end, and then I'm going to cut it into 3 decent sized pieces, and I'm going to pop these on like that. And then these pieces, I'm going to see what Malibu tastes like. Oh, sorry Simone. We're going to have the whole dessert. Too slow. Okay, now we need our sorbet out. I think this is Thea's lunchbox. Okay, so there's our sorbet. Have you got an ice cream scoop? An ice cream scoop. So kind of we need to be all ready with everything here now. So we've got, and you could go along and put this on every plate and then go along and put the pineapple on every plate, or you could all have turns at doing a different presentation on each one. So now, you have a little tester first of this. This is our morello, and what we want to do is do one, and then a smaller one, and then a smaller one, and then a smaller one, and then a tiny one. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look for a clean part of the plate, and I'm going to start with a big one, smaller one, smaller one, and I'm kind of going in a little circle, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Big one, small, small, and then I'm going to hide a big one down there because this is so yummy that I know you're all going to love it, and I'm going to hide another big one down there. And these ones are just for garnishing. Big one. And don't get them too close, otherwise they merge like the ones I've done. And then you can do, you've got that little knife, there it is. You can just come along here like this and turn it into a line. That looks shit. I'm going to start again. I do not like that. Right, let's have another go. My goodness. I'm not used to doing it on such a small plate. And yeah, this is a better, use a nice big palette knife. Let's have another go. I'll do a round one for this one. And our beef is resting, so that's fine. Cut the end off, and then one, three like that. Do like that. Right, let's see if I can get these dots right. So, a big dot, smaller dot, and far enough away that they are not going to touch. There we go, that's better. Now I'm going to tuck a little bit in there, tuck a little bit in there, and tuck a little bit in there. Alright, now I'm going to come along with my ice cream scoop, and hopefully yours is a little bit firmer than mine. Now this is really sharp, right? It's got loads of great flavours going on, so you don't need lots of it. You can always add more. Now we come along and grab some of our foam. I'm going to put a little bit down there. There we go. That'll be enough. Now we're going to come along and we're going to garnish it with our little pretty flowers. Probably 2 flowers. You should have enough for 2 on each one. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of the fennel frond because that's that lovely aniseedy flavour, which is going to work well with it. I'm going to take a little bit of the chocolate mint leaf, and I'm going to put that just there, and then just a little bit of the normal mint leaf, and we'll pop that up there. And I think that looks good. Are we happy with that? Okay, so that's kind of, and I'm sure you'll all be able to do way better than me. Get some nice close-ups of that. Pop that back in the freezer. And some down light angle shots, yeah. Okay, how are we going on that 8 minutes? 7 minutes? Right. So those steaks have been sitting there for 7 minutes. I'm now going to bex it. Well, this needs to disappear for me. Just move that out of the way. And take those. That's it. Thank you. Awesome. So the caponata is nice and hot. I'm going to put that in here so everybody can help themselves. There we go. And there is just the leaves off the end of the celery. I'm just going to grab those and give them a quick little crunch up. There's even a little bit of a stalk there, just roll them up like that. And I had a little bit of extra virgin olive oil left in here. There's just a touch left, drizzle that over the top. And
Everyone's having a great time, Simon.
awesome.
Yep.
Pine nuts over the top, the little serving spoon. That'll do. It's a salad spoon, another little white one that was here before. You know, that little middle one would be nice. So there you go. Now, I tell you what, you can never have too much olive oil on this, and I've got some of this loop line. So I'm going to give it a good glug drizzle over the top, and that is ready to go. Thank you. And there you go. Let's plate this. Back on. By the way, this whole reconnecting thing, I'm with Compass Communications, or Connector they call themselves. It is the most expensive thing. I pay about $500 a month because I upload lots of YouTube channel stuff. Hopefully you subscribe to my YouTube channel. But that's ridiculous, $500, and then it disconnects like this. I need spoons to do a little quenelle or something. Right, so that's the one I got out first. And they have cooled down a little bit, so let's come down here. So I've just tipped it on its side, come along with a sharp knife, and there we go. We've got that beautiful, really rare one. Give me another plate so you can see the rare. But you can see how it's cooked all the way to the edge. And then we've got one that we cooked for an extra 4 minutes, which is probably a little bit more like how I would normally have it. But you can see how it's pink all the way through, right to the edge. It's juicy. I don't have a board full of juice. And we may as well plate them all. Plate them all. But they're going to taste great. This is really good quality steak. There you go. But they hopefully on camera look lovely and juicy. Now you could serve your butter at the table, or you could come along like this and get a good tablespoon and just pop that on the plate next to it. And if you really want to make it easier, you could have a little bit of hot water and just and then take the rest of the butter to the table. Last one. Has anybody got any questions? Yeah. Anybody have any questions? But even that's the rarest one, but it's cooked, it's moist, it will be super, super delicious. Come along with the basil. Just a little bunch of basil or parsley, whatever you decide to use on there. But the basil flavour will, with the steak, and because we've got all that lovely parsley in there, will be wicked. There it is. Now, what I want you to do, if you've got a good salt, if you've just got iodized salt, don't bother. But if you've got Maldon, Murray River or Himalayan salt, just grab a little bit and just a little sprinkling over the top, and grind it on with your fingers. And then people can add pepper at the table. And then once you get, you know, some of this carbonara on here, which is so saucy, be absolutely delicious. And you could just serve this at the table, right? Happy days, right? I mean, I'd be happy to eat this. But, you know, if you want it cooked a bit more, and I'm sure some of you will be going, oh my God, it looks so rare. But it's such good quality steak, and it's been resting. It will be moist and delicious. But feel free to cook the living daylights out of it if you want to. Let's have another look at that dessert. Even though it's been sitting there for a few minutes, it's still looking delicious. And I think you will love that dessert. You will have the flavours of the pina colada. Go and eat your steak. Are there any questions?
Yes, one question. Will the foam mixture keep in the fridge?
Yes, it will.
Great.
And the sucro is amazing if you like whiskey sours or margaritas to use in there. Don't forget, we've got some cooking classes coming up at the deli. Hopefully you're on the mailing list for the deli. Happy days, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. And you had a bit of fun. I'm sorry about all the dishes, but we only used a couple of pots and a couple of pans, right? Thank you to my team here from Gault's Deli. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. So nice to get Bex into a kitchen again. Dion, thanks for coming, mate. You've got steak. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.